Hey, it's Talk About It Tuesday podcast, and this is July episode talking all things transparency and sustainability through communication. Our guests for this episode are Yuen, founder and creator of Infinite8Productions.com, educating youth on the current affairs of climate research. He believes that education is key to create a new generation of environmentalists. And we also have Ty Ford, Chief Marketing Officer for Retraced.co. Retraced is redefining the way we consume by providing easy access to honest information about the products around us. How awesome is that? You'll also hear from me, yours truly, Ashleigh Morgan, President of RecycleToRiches.org and the host of Talk About It Tuesday podcast. Thank you for watching and listening, and we can't wait to talk about it, people. Thank you, Luis, for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Ashleigh.
I just want to give you the floor to introduce your organization and yourself.
Okay. Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Yuen, and I work for Infinite8 Productions company. So what is Infinite8 Production company is Infinite8 Production is animation environmental education production companies based in Los Angeles. So we educate kids use an current climate research paper turned into a comics. So our comics basically is 100% scientific comic using in the current university. So but we make them to very light, fun, and informative information for the kids to read it. So therefore, the parents can feel safe, and also they will be ensured this information is 100% is accurate and is not a fiction for the kids when they read through this information. So on top of that, we have like a couple projects that currently will moving forward. So first one is a novella environmental education comics, so which is just released to the market. And then the second one is called Space Rock, and also is mainly focused on environmental sustainability topic. But that Space Rock project is actually mostly focused on space and science. But novella mostly basically focusing on Earth, everything about the tree, about CO2 issue, ocean rising, those type of topic. Yep. So that's who we are.
That is incredible, Luis. Thank you so much for explaining that and your mission, just to bring true education of environmentalism and the climate crisis to the student and the youth is very important. So thank you for what you do. First off, I have two questions for you to cover real quick. What does education of the youth on the climate crisis mean to you?
Well, climate crisis actually is a very hard subject to talk about. And I know that when I'm doing this thing, I having a hard time to digest because it's very negative, honestly. So, and to me is how are we able to turn climate issue become an friendly approaching way to the kids to understand the issue? Because you don't want the kids to scare something, to learn something is that, oh, it's bad for us. Why are we learning something bad for us? So we want to bring up the issue to the kids and say, it's bad for the environment, but we have a duty to do to make it better for us in the future. So that's to me is a heavy burden. You feel like not just me, for the kids too. But I think my role here is trying to make it light and easy for them to understand. Does that make sense?
Makes 100% sense. And that is why we love the mission that you have and the
Thank you.
comics. And that's why we have it, Unrecycled Riches, because it's important for the kids.
It is very important. Yeah.
And you do make it light and fun and educational, true education. So that's very important. Next question. It's like a speed dating talk about it Tuesday. What is Infinity 8 Project Productions doing to bring transparency to sustainability through communication?
Um, is actually is a big step for us because when we talk about communication, especially in environmental sustainability topic, that whole sector, usually you will first thing come to mind is like, oh, when we communicate with people, so are we talking about just the environment, or are we just talk about a school related issue? So oftentimes when I'm educating myself at the same time, so I find myself need to communicate with policy issue, educational issue, family issue, and most importantly, children behavior issue. So that comes to me and think the most powerful thing for environmental sustainability topic is about how we changing the children behavior and attitude using our most strongest communication. So that's how I find out is like, oh, actually, I guess I can swipe everything out what I just talked about it. It core, the core is like psychology, basically. So, and that's how I find out, oh wow, the communication core is about psychology here right now, basically. But how can I condense all the information in this one topic and express to all the different sector? I think that's the communication I'm looking for here.
That's wonderful. That's the communication we need. And that's why we have you on Talk About It Tuesday. Today, we also have Ty Ford, Chief Marketing Officer for Retrace.co. So exciting to have you, Ty. Thank you. Thank you. I want to give you the floor to introduce Retrace and yourself.
Ashley, thank you so much for having me. I'm Ty Ford, Chief Marketing Officer of Retrace. What is Retraced? Well, quite simply put, we are a company, a tech company that definitely wants to see um, fashion change for the better. So we're helping brands by offering them a platform for traceability, sustainability management, and transparency. By that, what we mean is we enable them and empower them to really connect with their suppliers, figure out who it is that they're working with to make the products that they love to make and that their customers love to buy. Figure out what the process is in making those, which materials are you using, and what's that effect? What's the impact in terms of environmental and social impact? So by being able to inherently understand how your own production works and being able to map your supply chains and understand that process internally, you can then confidently share that externally. So really connecting your consumers with the values that you hold and show in your supply chain. So offering supply chain transparency as a mean to make a better fashion industry. That's what we're all about.
Love it, love it. Got to have that transparency. So
Absolutely.
that leads into the next question actually beautifully. How does creating transparency in the fashion industry lend itself to help the climate crisis?
hmm Well, in a few different ways. So fashion is one of, unfortunately, it's one of the oldest industries, the textile industry. It's also one of the dirtiest, unfortunately. Um, and it's because of many different factors, right? So, I mean, we have some legacy processes happening within the production. Um, we've got a lot of transportation going on. You also have a lot of, waste that's being thrown away, stuff that's being thrown in the water, packaging that's plastic. So there's so many different elements to the fashion supply chain, and there's opportunities, or rather, there's parts where things that are happening are not great for the environment. So how does transparency help with this? First and foremost, you're enabling yourself to know, right? So you're first allowing to understand what's happening, how are things made, and where is it being made. Then once you know, you can start to assign some accountability. So understanding who's involved in this process and what needs to be done to change that. Because with that accountability, you can start to create action. Um, it helps from the internal perspective from the brand who really wants to understand this. At the same time, consumers are also wanting to know this. There's a bunch of surveys coming out there. Well, one says that I think 9 out of every 10 fashion consumers actually do care about sustainability, and even 65% of consumers actually want to know the CSR efforts of a brand. So there is a bit of pressure coming from consumers to ask, hey, I love these clothes. They're stylish, super comfortable, but what's the impact? What's the trade-off? So brands need to find that out, which requires a deep and transparent look into their own supply chains. And once they find that out, they can communicate that, but they can also do something better, and they can actually help influence the changes. They can work with suppliers to ensure that they're using the right products that are more climate friendly, carbon neutral. So all these little micro actions and micro transactions that can help individual supply chains, I think goes a long way towards helping the fight for climate change, fight against climate change.
Yeah, the more you know, the better you can be, right?
And the more you can do.
Yeah, yeah. You got to know to make change at first. If you don't know any better, you can't make the change. So next question, what is Retrace doing to bring this transparency to sustainability through communication?
Absolutely. Um, so we work with the fashion brands first and foremost, right? So will we'll talk to them first and say, hey, what are some of your challenges within the sustainability CSR management field? What is it that you know about your supply chains? And through that, what are you guys doing? So first, by working with the brands, we kind of map out their supply chain, see where they're working, who's involved in what. A lot of times, you'll actually see brands come back to us and be like, "Well, I know who makes the final garment. I'm not sure of the fibers where they're actually coming from." Or, okay, I know they're coming from this. We have an agent here, but we're actually not sure where they're getting their stuff from. So this is usually kind of the first hurdle, the first kind of hill to climb over. I won't call this a mountain just yet, but once they climb over that, then there's so much they can learn. Like, oh, this is actually where my cotton's coming from. Well, that's not what I wanted. So then they can start to take some actions. They can start to ask the suppliers, like, hey, can we do something else about this? Can we make a collection where we actually know what's happening, and we therefore plan around it. What you can do with that is, it's not only besides knowing your supply chain and being able to share it, but you can really sort of give yourself goals and see how you progress, right? So you can say, okay, we started off in 2020 with maybe 50% of our supply chains mapping down to the T2 or T3 level. By 2021, we're getting up to 75%. And you can really sort of measure yourself as a brand and understand where you're getting better operationally, and also from a sustainability goals perspective. And that helps in a few different ways. Not only does it help you feel better, but you can actually save costs this way. You can actually make sure everything's more efficient. You can actually know a lot more, save less time collecting all this stuff, because with our platform, you can actually have that stuff all in one place. Brands before we're doing this in different Excel fields and searching through email inboxes. With Retrace, you can all do that in one place. So that first part is about the transparency for yourself. So that's how we're using sort of internal communication, making that digital, making that effective, as the first step. And then the last step, certainly not the least, is and then using that communication, having that knowledge that where your stuff is coming from, and being able to share that with customers. And it's through that communication you can build trust. And with that trust comes potentially more sales, comes a more engaged community of people that love your products, and it allows for more of a conversation. So really it's about building trust through transparency, and for a lot of fashion brands, they're actually seeing an uptick in online conversions, because what we actually allow, so once the brand has already done the supply chain mapping and tracing and understanding of where the information is coming from, the collection of compliance documents, all that stuff you can do through Trace, they can then share that on the product page on their website or through a QR code attached to the garment. When the customer views that widget or scans that QR code, they can see the full product journey. They can see all the suppliers. They can see the materials. They can understand the different environmental and social efforts happening. So that's where the communication piece comes in, is gathering all the information that's happening within the supply chain related to environmental and social sustainability, and then sharing that and allowing that education in an interactive way with customers.
Wow, that's so awesome. The QR code is new. I don't believe last time we chatted, you had that all set up. That's really awesome. Is it a part of the garment or the hang tag that you have the QR code?
It's totally up to the fashion brands, right? It probably depends on what type of garment it is.
Uh-huh.
To maybe if it's underwear, you may not have a big kind of care label with the QR code on it. But it totally depends. We've had people kind of put it onto their jeans, so it's not even on a tag, but it's actually kind of like onto the inner lining of the jeans. But yeah, you can it's just a QR. You can kind of print it wherever you want to on it. We advise that you put it on the garment because that way it kind of stays with the garment forever. And also you can always show other people like, hey, this is where my product came from. This is kind of the journey it took to get to me.
It's incredible.
Yeah, so it's something we've always had. I mean, we've been focusing, especially in the last year. There's been a lot more online sales, so less retail happening. So we were pushing more the online widget for product, for that starts. But we're seeing as retail picks back up, there's actually also a really nice convincing and selling argument for brands who sell B2B to say, hey, we have a much more interactive product that you can put in your stores. Check it out.
Yeah, I was even picturing embroidering it because it is a really nice kind of pattern even. So if you wanted to make it that much more stay there, be a part of the garment, and really give your piece garment capital, maybe embroidering that QR code to track and retrace it wherever it goes, whatever human has it. That would be really cool. Print
Absolutely.
sometimes gets out of it, washes off, something happens, a hang tag can fall off, no one saves them. And an embroidery of a QR code to track it would be really cool. And I'm going to send Retrace. I actually did send your email to another producer that is trying to produce ethically and sustainably. So hopefully they reach out. That would be really cool to see that happen. I love that we can make connections here on Talk About It Tuesday. And this has just been so much fun. A little quick questionnaires for you, make it simple. And hopefully you could check out the episode when it comes out on the 30th.
Looking forward to it. Thanks so much, Ashley, for having me. I think it's really great what you're doing with building this community of like-minded people, all pushing in the same direction, right? It's really needed right now. So fostering this type of community, I think, is going to help everyone kind of push us to where we need to go. We got a long way to go with regards to helping save Mama Earth and helping save ourselves from ourselves. But in the fashion industry, I've noticed that there is a really strong community that wants to do it. So power to you to speak in power to it with these community events and these facilitating these type of talks. Thank you.
Of course, it's our pleasure. That's what we're here for. Talking about it, getting communication out there, collaboration, community education. We can do this together. Thank you, Ty, for joining Talk About It Tuesday, and we will never stop talking about it, right?
Absolutely.
Well, thanks for watching and listening to the July episode of Talk About It Tuesday podcast. Stay connected with both of those speakers in the comments below. We hope you can join us next time to talk all things inspirational youth action in sustainability, coming out on August 31st. Until then, let's never stop talking about it, community.